Wednesday! Welcome, everybody. If you are new to the group, I am Michelle Quay. I am the founder and the creator of this group, the Visibility Confidence Lounge for Women Coaches. I am a visibility and confidence coach, and those of you who are new to me, welcome to the group. And those who have been in the group for a while, welcome. Thank you so much for all your love and support. This is a live show that I stream every Wednesday at 8 o'clock at live. I am thinking about changing the time, but we'll get to that. Today, and again, I get very excited every time I have someone to talk to. So, I'm always opening with, I'm so excited to have another guest with me today. But before I go and bring her onto the stage, I just wanted to tell you a little story, and this is actually a story that we were talking about just a couple of minutes prior to this live. So over the weekend, I got a new mug, and I went to Target, and so it's a big, gigantic coffee mug that I felt like I don't have to keep refilling it every time, right? So I rather have it in front of me. I can drink it. And lo and behold, because I was shopping with my mom started to commenting on, you're not going to use that. You have so many mugs. It's so big. And you're not going to be able to finish that. Are you sure you're going to be finished that? So every now and then I hear her voice in my head. Every time I hear her, I'm like, oh, there she goes again. And today I'm super excited because my guest, she is an expert in dealing with this mob police that we experience. I don't want to take too much of her time because I rather have her introduce herself to you because her journey is very unique and different. She's amazing. She's my fellow iPEC coach, and I'm super excited. Again, super excited to bring her onto the show. So help me, please welcome Manuela Powell.
Hi, how are you, Michelle? Thank you so much for having me.
I am so thrilled to have you here. And I think when I was checking out, I was stalking you actually on your Facebook. I was like, who is this person? Who is this woman? I gotta go follow her. I gotta go check her out. And what caught my eye was I think on your bio, it was surgeon. You had under your bio as a cancer surgeon. But now you are a coach.
Yeah, that is true. I used to be a breast cancer surgeon, and I had kids really late. I had kids at 42, my first one, and at 44, I had my second. And I was living in Brazil with my husband, who's American. We decided to move back to the US. And I was like, you know what? I actually want to raise my kids. I want to see them instead of just working all the time. So I decided to quit. And that sounds super easy and very, just like, oh, I'm just going to quit and do something else. And everything was rainbows and unicorns. That's not what happened. But eventually he did suggest that I find a coach. And I was so clueless about coaching that I said, I don't play any sports. Why would I find a coach? I did not know about life coaching. Anyway, when I looked at life coaching, like, oh, this is it. This is what I need to do. This is what I was called to do in my life. And here we are. So
that's so interesting because how do you go from a surgeon to a coach? That's something that I know. So in my environment, I work with a lot of medical professionals, and I think a lot of them walk into medical field thinking that this is it. This is, I want to be a doctor, right? So, and that's something that people think about all the time. I want to be a doctor when I grow up. I want to be a lawyer. So what made that change?
Well, first of all, I did not grow up like that. I never once thought I wanted to be a doctor when I was a kid. I wanted to be a vet for a minute, but I think it was just because I liked animals. I don't know. Although I did like a little bit, like my grandfather who used to have a farm said that I was the only one of the grandchildren. And it was like 30 some of us that wanted ever to watch a cow being giving birth. So I don't know, whatever. I don't remember that. I remember that. Eventually, I decided to be a doctor when I was already in business school. So I was like, 18 or whatever it was. And then I went to medical school. That was totally the right choice. That was amazing. I loved it. And then I did surgical oncology, which means cancer surgery in general, and specialized in breast cancer surgery. And I loved doing it for sure. But I had done some of my training here in the US at Sloan Kettering and then at Cornell. So I knew what it would take for me to basically start from scratch after being a doctor for 20 years. And I didn't want to do that. So, it was, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that as in my function as a doctor, I used to think that I didn't have any transferable skills, because it was like the only thing I know how to do is to cut people and get their cancer out. And one day, it was actually my husband again that started saying, like, you know what, you have other skills, like you can learn new things, you can do challenging things, you can anyway, like, of course, we're just in that limiting belief of like, of course I could never do anything. And I started thinking about, what were the other things that I liked about my profession, not just the operating part. And the thing that I liked was really talking to my patients, having someone come to my office really scared about the potential of a diagnosis or an established diagnosis, and talking to them about how they look like their life look like from then on, and how would a new normal be, and all that kind of stuff. So I noticed that it was like, oh, maybe I was doing some coaching. And of course, it's not 100% coaching, because I was giving them advice. But that was a lot of helping them navigate, this life, this person that you were does not exist anymore, because now you have this new thing. And of course, a cancer diagnosis is something that will change most people's lives. So I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. And it was so the right choice, let me just say. I think medicine was just a stepping stone for me being here today.
Mm-hmm. As you're describing it, I'm like imagining myself walking into a doctor's office, and my doctor, actually, I just recently went to my primary doctor, and he's very talkative, and it almost feels like what he actually does as a doctor was only 10 minutes. And then the rest of the time, for the entire, I would say almost 2 hours, I was in his office. The whole entire time, he was just talking about life.
That is an amazing doctor, number one. First of all, you're in 2 hours there is like already like much better than 95% of doctors. And that is the truth, because I think it's like I would talk a lot about, the emotions and all that stuff and how to process that stuff. Because of course there's all, the so-called stages of, it's about grief and all that. And of course we go through that when you have such a diagnosis. So I love that part. I love just normalizing all these things. I'm like, yeah, of course you're angry. Of course you're scared. Of course, blah, blah. And I would talk to the families too. I had actually a good friend of mine who had a really aggressive diagnosis. And she was the most positive person I've ever met in my life. Everything was amazing in her life. And even everybody loved her in the hospital, because she was always like joking and all that. And I remember having a conversation with her husband and her mom and dad and everyone, say, hey, I know she's like that, but if one day she starts going, feeling sad or angry, all that, please just let her, don't go like, oh, but at least you don't blah, blah, but all those kinds of things that we want to do because we're uncomfortable. It's like, please just be there, just allow her to be sad or angry, whatever it is, because that will eventually come, right? Which it did. And then for her it was, she was able to process them quickly. Mm-hmm. But, I love that part. And it's a lot of what we do as coaches, just teach people to deal with their emotions and choose their thoughts and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think I can relate to from a patient's perspective, because I remember when I was in the hospital when I was sick, there's a lot of people say, oh, don't worry about it, it's gonna get over. No, you're not stuck with it. I am. So just right. And so
oh my God, I would call people out in the hospital when they did that. I would say, what? No, get out of here. Like, I would sometimes hijack other people's patients. I'm like, no, let me talk to you. That's not how this is gonna go, especially. And I don't want to say, oh, all men doctors are like that, because it's obviously you just said that you have a great, but there was a lot of that of, my male counterparts being a little like not knowing how to deal with their own discomfort and be, oh no, this is fine. This is totally curable and blah, blah. It's like, yeah, of course it's curable. Do you understand like the major bomb that just went off in her life? And she's thinking about her little kids and like, I'm not going to see my kids, grow up and whatever. Like, all of this is happening, even if the chances are great, right, for that she will survive. But like, there's so much in there, especially with breast cancer. There's so much involved. You're going to get mutilated and you're going to have to go to surgery and chemo and radiation. It's just so much. So of course people need that time to process. And I think it's the doctor's job to help them, right? You just like, oh no, here's a referral to a psychologist or whatever. Like, no, just talk to them for 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. It can be 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. I'm sticking to my doctor. On that
You
note.
should, 100%. Yes.
Yeah. So as you're moving out from the medical field into coaching, was there a lot of people who I imagine there's going to be some of your friends or family who's not very supportive or almost judgmental in the sense?
Sure.
What was that
Yeah.
experience like?
Yeah, it still happens to this day because I had a phase, and this is how my identity as a coach, because of course my identity my whole life was I'm a surgeon, right? Since I was 18, 19, I'm a doctor, I'm a surgeon. And then this is something that people use, when people ask, oh, what do you do? And you say, oh, I'm a cancer surgeon. People usually go like, oh, cool. Like at the very least. And then now I started saying, oh, I'm a life coach. And people are like, oh, okay, whatever. And for a while I had that, oh, I used to be a cancer surgeon, but now I'm a life coach, kind of justifying because I was still not 100%. First of all, sure, how good of a coach I was, and still very clingy to that other one. But at some point I realized that I just loved coaching so much and I believe in it so much. And I think it's so life-changing and so life-saving that I stopped saying the first part. But sometimes people would, how did you get to it and all that? And the fact that I was before, that had been a doctor, it would come up. And people would be like, wait, what? You left medicine? Like, is that even allowed? Can you do that after all that training, all those years, all that money, all of the blood, sweat, and tears? And it does make some people very triggered because they think they can do this in their life. So, they wait a second. If you can leave that job, maybe I can leave my job. And some people are just not ready to be faced with that reality. So for sure, there's a lot of, and of course, there's the judgment of people that just don't understand what life coaching is and think it's a scam or a color or whatever they think. I honest to God, I do not care when people think that. I just like agree with them. And it's like, okay, like I'm not even going to have that conversation with those people because like, I know what it is and I know how amazing and incredible it is and how life-changing it can be. I see it in my life and my clients' life. So like, it's actually the same thing as some people would come to my office with a cancer diagnosis and I'll say, this is what you need. Here's the surgery you need. And they would refuse treatment. And of course I would explain and, try to see them that would be not the best decision. But if in the end you don't want a surgery that can save your life, it's your life. So I think the same for coaching. When people come to a consult and they say no for something that's like, oh my gosh, we would so get rid of this and make your life would be so much better. And they say no, it's the same.
Yeah. So why mom police? Because I think one of the in your and that's one of your niche. It's your niche actually to work with mom, the mom police. So
I work against it, to be honest. So I think
tell us more about it.
The mom police is just like a way that I found, just because there's a lot of judgment when you, first of all, as women, we already go through so much crap, right? So the patriarchal conditioning is so real and so true, even in very subtle ways, which we a lot of times don't realize. And then when we become a mom, it just like gets an overdrive, kind of like, oh, now your life purpose is to serve people. In general, you can serve the little humans you made, and you can also serve anybody else around you, probably your partner, your parents, your friends, whatever. It's just like, it's a given that now you're just going to be this person that is going to be selfless. And there's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of judgment, for instance, if you have little kids and you get offered a job that will involve a lot of traveling. People go like, wait, but what about your kids? How's your husband? Or, it's usually a husband. I think for same-sex couples, people would not think that a woman cannot deal with kids for some reason, because that's our job. How's your husband going to deal with the kids? And, how can you be away from them and all that stuff? Which can make a lot of women stop what they want to do in their lives. And not only as a career, but also, if you had a hobby that you loved and now you have to get time away from your kids. I had that. I do improv comedy, and, so one night a week I would go to my class, and then sometimes I would have shows. And some people would say, oh, but you like every week you do this? And like, who stays with your kids? I'm like, I'm not a single mom. There's another parent. He's a grown ass adult. He can do that. And he does. He's super supportive of us doing that kind of stuff, living our lives. Sure, our kids are an amazing, huge part of our lives, but that doesn't mean that we have to completely erase everything in our personality. And the mom police in my mind is, the judgment from other people when they say, no, you can't. How are you going to do this? How are you going to, travel and leave your kids? How are you going to do the thing that you want to do? How are you going to dress like that? You're a mom, you can't, or whatever. There's just so many versions of people making themselves smaller and now I'm going to wait until my kids go to college so that I can do X and Y and Z. Mm-hmm. No, just do it now. just do it now, right? Just live your life now, because then you're going to show your kids what's possible instead of just sacrificing for them, because then you're going to show them, oh, what we do is this. We have kids and then we sacrifice everything we wanted. And then they're going to grow up. What they're going to do? They're going to sacrifice too. So we're just generations and generations of people just not living to their full potential in the life that they wanted to. So that's what I'm against. But I don't want to be just against things. So what I'm for is for moms living the life they want to live and still being good moms.
As you're describing mom police, I see a lot on like social media or even in a social gathering where you go in, you share a problem in your life or some type of challenge in your life, and there's like all these millions of people jumping on and offering you advice, and they go to advice.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody knows how you should live your life much better than you. Right? If you say, oh, my child's not sleeping, and you say you're gonna, for instance, I do the sleep training with my kids, which means they cry a little bit and you go back and there's a whole thing. You go in and out, blah, blah, but they cry. And that is like, oh my gosh, your child is crying. You're gonna let him cry? This is torture. First of all, there's like plenty of studies that show that no, this is not torture, this is fine. And also, literally, my baby that was waking up 5 times a night went to sleeping the whole night. Don't you think it's better for him to sleep the whole night? It's definitely better for me, 100%. But isn't it better for him? Right? Because like, why is it waking up and crying? So of course it is. But that is something that, oh my gosh, you say that, and some people would like, you're a horrible human because you did it. And a million other things. Are you sending your kids to school? Oh my gosh, you're crazy. Are you homeschooling? You're nuts. I mean, you can't please everyone. You just cannot. There's not one thing that you're going to do as a parent that everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go and do that. There's always going to be someone who's going to think that that's not the thing you should do. Mm-hmm. So in the end, you can't, as a mother, you cannot please everyone. You cannot please your mother, your mother-in-law, your sister, your whatever. So just live your life. Just listen to yourself, and sure, listen to experts and find people that can advise you and all that, but always filter it through your, does this align with me? Does this resonate with me? Should I do this? And then test it out. Maybe it doesn't work, and then you have to do something different.
So how do you deal with the mom police in life? Like, I know there's a lot of like women or mompreneur in my group, and they're wondering, like, there's so many people giving me advice, and then you brought up a great example, the sleep training. And I can tell you from personal experience, my sister was doing the sleep training to my nephew who is now 4 years old. And during the sleep training, my mom was actually the one who's being the mom police. You're gonna let him cry? What? Yeah. In the middle of the night, he's gonna sleep by himself, 3 years old? Don't you want to hold him?
Yes, exactly. So
how do you deal with someone like that?
It depends on who's the mom police. First of all, if it's your actual mom or sister or someone who's really close to you, of course you can have conversations. And first of all, how the way I deal with it right now is like, I don't give a shit. I just don't care. I just don't care, because I know, like, now I know, and I'm not saying that I know everything. Like my 4-year-old thinks, like, he says that. He says, I know everything. It's like, okay. I don't know everything. But what I do know is like, okay, if I want to make this decision as a parent, this is the decision that I didn't like come up with it. I was like, I'm just going to do something completely insane that I just like pull out of my, behind. And this is what I probably thought of it. I probably looked it up, and, when it's something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I know, and I remember when I was 100% against it. Actually, my husband was the one who did with our first kid. And the night he did it, as he just like came out of the room and the child was there, like the baby screaming. I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, we're going to do this. I'm like, no, what? And I just like grabbed my Kindle, downloaded the book, which I need to read this whole book right now, like the next 10 minutes, because that's the person I am. I need to research everything first. And he's like, no, I looked it up. This is how you do it. You go, and then you go back, however, whatever. That was the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I was like, okay, I'm going to give you a week. If that doesn't work in a week, then I'm going to think about something different. And there you go. Whatever, like you're not going to damage your child for eternity by trying something that millions of people do. And there's a lot of research behind, so I think that is the way. Like, are you sure of what you're doing? Or even if you're not 100%, are you sure that this is a thing to try? Mm-hmm. And, so for the people who are close to you, of course, have conversations and say, hey, I'm going to do this, and either you're going to support me or we're not going to talk about it, which is, setting boundaries, which is very healthy. And with people that you don't know, people on the internet and whatever, I honestly today I have a capacity to not care for these things. I am very happy with it. And that is something that I love teaching my clients, because, when you notice that people, they don't know. And it's just like, it's your life. You're the one who has to decide it. And the other people's thoughts are not the truth. They're just their thoughts. So it's fine to ignore them completely. Just not give them 1 ounce of your energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like everybody else knows everything, how to run your life better than you do. And so
sure, but how they're running their lives is my question.
yeah, right, exactly. So those people who's giving the $1 million ideas of how to run your business, let's see their bank first before we talk about, like,
yeah,
are you really legitimately capable or expert in this area?
Yeah.
Exactly. So what are some of what's your clientele like who are you working with?
I work with moms doing, and my niche used to be moms that want to find their identities back, because when you become a mom, you kind of erase parts of yourself, like things that you liked and things that you did, and you kind of, at some point, I noticed this with myself after a couple of years, I was like, wait, who is this person? Because I'm not like this, and I'm behaving in a way that it's not me. So I think that happens with a lot of us. So I used to work specifically with that. But now I think I'm actually just a general life coach for moms, because I have clients who I'm helping open businesses and deal with parents or, people, all that mom policing things, and or how to deal with the burden of having to deal with kids at home during the year that we just went through. So I just love coaching moms, because I think the motherhood part goes through every part of our lives. So I think working on that, and working especially on the patriarchal conditioning and the things we do because we're women, because we're supposed to, I think that changes a lot. Like, changes the relationship with partners, changes the relationship with your boss, with your work, with everything. So these days I'm really just focusing on, if you're a mom, yes, I can help you, whatever it is.
What do you believe is the biggest challenge for women in a patriarchy society?
It's the thing is, of course, this, when we grow up with these beliefs that we just think, in belief is just a thought that we think repeatedly, and then it becomes the truth with capital T. So there are things that we believe are the truth. Yesterday was talking to a friend who used to be a journalist for the New York Times, and I was asking her, and she's in a different place right now, and we were talking about the time that she left the New York Times, and what she found out was, and she's also Brazilian, so what she found out was that she has the least pay in the whole, and she was like a big shot. She was not, just. And when she looked at everybody that was in the same level as her in terms of work, she was the one who made less money. And the day that she asked for a raise, her boss, who was a woman at the time, said, you know what, I'm so glad to give you this raise, because you're the first woman that ever asked for it. So it's like, wait, what? And she was like, yeah, can you believe it? And this is like a powerful woman, a woman who, is doing all these things in the world, and still we have that conditioning of like, I shouldn't ask for a raise. And the fact she only discovered that her salary was less because she went to talk to the union person and was like, okay, can you give me just, I don't know how to, can I ask for this? And blah, blah. Like, that's the kind of stuff we do. And men would be just like, oh, I want however many $1,000 and I'm just go and ask. They can say, no, it's fine. It's not personal. I think that is the difference. So there's a lot of, for women, it's like, oh, if I ask for a raise and they say no, it's like, it's because my work is not good or whatever. You just make it mean something about yourself, which men in general, of course, we're generalizing extremely here, but in general, men have way less of that kind of unworthiness than we do, because we have grown up with women are different, right? Like, you do less, and when you start working, you make less money, and you can't do the same kinds of jobs and all of that stuff. And most people in power are men, and all those kinds of things. They're very subtle messages. It's not like, hey, you're less, but it's what gets in your mind. So that is probably the hardest thing, because the beliefs are very ingrained. So you have to decondition your brain and condition it in a different way.
That is so true. And because I hear this a lot, there's inequality in even gender inequality, right? So even though we keep promoting it, we keep talking about it, but in reality, there's still women who's not getting the pay that they deserve. And yes, we can look at it from the society perspective that, well, we should give them the raise when they deserve it. But on the other hand, it's also depending on the woman. If you're not brave enough to like step up and ask for what you deserve, how is anybody going to know what is your value?
Yeah, I think, it should be, well, if you have a job, this is a job, and here's a salary. It doesn't matter which gender, color, or belief you have. Like, this is right, like, this should be like this in an ideal world. Of course it's not. So what we can do, because we can't argue with reality, this is just how it is. And what you're saying is how things work. Yeah, why am I going to give this guy a raise if, or if they're not saying anything? So of course, in my job, what I do is like, no, of course you're worth it. I have several clients that all that we're working right now is in, yes, of course you deserve it. Of course you deserve it. Why don't you deserve it? And the way we think, well, I don't deserve because, and then you go back to, and you don't have to like dig into your childhood. It can be like literally sometimes like 15 minutes conversation. It's like, oh, this is the message I got from this person in my childhood. I was like, okay, that's a big reason, because that person is a person that sometimes your dad or whatever. So that's the message you received. And then you kept seeing those other ones, right? Like in school, for instance, oh, there's a dress code for girls, right? You can't wear clothes that are revealing because the boys are because boys can control themselves. Well, how about we teach our boys to not be what they, and sure, there are hormones and all that, but like, how is that fair? Right? So there's so many of these little tiny things that we keep. And I see my kids sometimes, my kids are 4 and 6. They sometimes say things and I was like, oh my gosh, what? Would you hear that? What are you saying? Because it's just there everywhere, right? In TV, in society, in everywhere. And the completely unreal standards. And now with social media, you look at those beautiful curated feeds of people living the lives of their dreams and being moms and being everything. Sure, you can be everything, but you're going to have to, you're not going to look like that all the time. Your life is not going to be perfect. Nobody's life's like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a Facebook group. Tell us about your group. What's your group about?
Yeah. So my group is called Audacious Motherhood Society. And it's really a sisterhood, a community where we can just be ourselves without the fear of that judgment. We can talk about how difficult it is to be a mom sometimes, and how much we adore our kids, and sometimes we want to strangle them, and it's totally fine. It's okay. And, funny memes, because we love that stuff, and I love funny things. And a lot of support, like mental health support, and what are you struggling with, and how can we because we don't have the village anymore, right? We used to live in a society where a lot of people would be there for you, even if they're not changing the diapers of your baby. They were there for you when you wanted to have a conversation, or, just literally vent about difficult things in your life and all that. And we don't have that so much anymore. We live away from our families and all that stuff. So basically, I'm virtually recreating that village so that we have that support. That's so important when you're, just embarking in that journey of raising humans.
Or just sisterhoods. So here is the group.
Yeah, just get in there. It's great. And you know what? I do have people in the group who are not moms, just because there's a lot of things that we talk about. There's just, it's all us women. It's not. It gets a little worse when we're moms, I think, but it's really for all of us.
Yay! And then where else can people find you?
Well, my website is my name, manuelapowell.com, and that has all the information. I have all the links to my social media. The social media that I am most active on is Facebook, but I'm also on all the other things, Instagram, TikTok, and all of that. But my website has all my information, how to get in contact with me, how to book a free call if you are interested in working one-on-one, and my newsletter.
Yay! It's been amazing. And I know there's so much stuff that's going on. I need to go and join your group, even though I am not a mother, but I am like going to go in there and just to check everybody out. And, when women empowers other women, it just feels more powerful when we come together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Amen to that. Thank you so much. This is so fun.
Thank you so much for being here. It's like I can continue this conversation forever and ever. But
yeah, whenever. Thank you so much. Bye.
I appreciate your time. Bye. All right, everyone. That was this week's episode of Live Coffee Talk. Hope you enjoyed the show. And if you haven't already, I would love to have you invite other coaches who are looking for this type of support in the group. Please invite them in. Love to get to meet them. And again, join me next week here live at 8 o'clock Pacific time, and I will have another amazing and exciting guest for you. I will see you next time. Bye.